And like I said, I just wake up every day with a smile on my face, and I put the work in. Me and C. Hines, my trainer. And like I said, it shows on the court, and we just, day by day, we just keep trusting the process.
And certainly a lot more milestones to go. Speaking of tonight, there were more smiles in this game. You guys came into this road trip. You're now 2-0, heading back home. How important was it to get the job done in these 2 games?
I think we might have lost 5 in a row, so we was trying to get it back together. D-Lo was out. We got D-Lo back. I think PB is back at 100%. Everybody is back now, so we're just trying to get it together and get some wins in a row.
These 2 guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd.
Welcome in.
On Score North.
Oh my gosh.
ScoreNorth.com.
My button bar. I feel like my button bar malfunctions every time Declan's like, you hit the music. Like, all right, and my button bar just never lives up to the task. So there we go.
It's not just your button bar.
I know. I'm just failing as a human. Failing as a family member, a friend. But this is Reckless Speculation Thursday on Mackey and Judd. We bring our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson in from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department, the Scoop podcast. And this is where we get the inside scoop on all of our Minnesota sports teams. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, Doogie.
Yes, Phil. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday. Good to be back. Good to see your pretty face. Hopefully my voice maintains. On Tuesday, I had an epic meltdown at the end of Judd and I's back and forth. I can't shake this freaking cold. It's like, it's once a year. It's about this time once a year that a cold just, it kicks my behind. I don't know how to defeat
the Roycey crud, Doogie.
It is.
Patrick gets the same thing once a year.
And I went in for a COVID test. That was a depressing sight on Saturday last weekend, going in for a COVID test at one of the community sites in Brooklyn Park. But I went in, tested negative, went to the Minute Clinic, no fever. She's like, you just have a cold. I'm like, gosh darn it. Like, I can't shake it, though. It's 8 days now, and I can't get rid of it. So,
yeah. Well,
Judd's my voice is okay.
Judd is on the Score North COVID protocol list himself here. He's gonna have to isolate in his home Minnesota sports office for the next 10 days or so.
So you won't be at the X tonight?
No, I won't be at the X. I'm out of commission for 10 days. I've got
Taxi
the
squad.
bid.
Taxi squad.
Yeah.
I got him covered. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
Declan is coming up to take my place. There's a lot of concern.
Yeah, it's very difficult time.
Yeah, I'm out 10
He's
days.
powering through them. Unlike some of these wussy football players, the Judd is powering through. He is working. And I'll tell you, the Timberwolves tested positive last night, too, for playoff contention. Back-to-back road wins.
It's toying with Phil's emotions.
The Damian Lillard Blazers.
This team is toying with Mackey's emotions.
The Joker Nuggets. And you had a couple milestones last night, Dukes. Karl Anthony Towns becomes the 10th. Let me rephrase this. He was the 5th fastest active player to 10,000 career points. And Anthony Edwards also became one of the fastest players or youngest players to 2,000 career points. 10 threes made by Ant last night. That was one of the more impressive victories of the season, Dukes.
Well, and Anthony Edwards, the youngest player in NBA history to have double-digit three-pointers made in one singular game. So, yeah, I mean, heck, I thought shot selection overall last night was about as good as it's been in any game this year. Now, the Memphis game, when you win a game by 40-something points, I get it. That's the outlier. But, in terms of, first minute to the 48th minute, that was as complete an effort as they've put on all year. 40-something points in that first quarter, 40, I think it was, 75 in the first half. And I'm telling you, I can't remember more than 3 or 4 shots where I'm like, that was a bad shot. It was a very efficient offensive performance last night. It certainly helps that Denver is down a number of guys, Dozier, Porter Jr., Jamal Murray's been out. But hey, they hadn't won against Denver since April of 2018, 12 consecutive losses to Denver. They had the lengthy losing streak against Portland. So you exercise, that demon on Sunday. So yeah, I mean, Phil, it's what we've thought all along, isn't it? That they're in that, 35 to 40-ish win, range. Maybe if they get a little lucky, maybe it's 41 or 42. But if you get to 36, 37, 38 in this weak Western bottom conference, New Orleans isn't making the playoffs. I know Houston has had a couple good moments, but then J.B. Bickerstaff in Cleveland humbled them the other night, beat them by 30-something. The Rockets are not making the play-in tournament. We know San Antonio in all likelihood is not making the play-in tournament. I see no evidence that Sacramento is making the play-in tournament, and certainly Oklahoma City is not making the play-in tournament. To me, what is the bar? Let's say they achieve the 9 or the 10 seed, but let's say it's one and done. Let's say they're not one of the top 8 seeds, where they don't get to play a best-of-7 series. Do we consider that progress? That to me will be an interesting, conundrum. But I'll take it. Like if we can see meaningful basketball late April, maybe even into early May, sign me up, because to me the bar is so low here.
Right.
I'll take it. But I do know internally, like going back to Miami in early September when they went down there and bonded and had to pay that hefty fine soon thereafter. But they were talking down there like, hey, we are a top 8 team in the Western Conference, not a top 10 team.
So is this when I watch this team, which pinballs greatly, sometimes they look good and at times they look terrible. Is this as simple a thing, guys, as D'Lo being back? Because, there was a week ago or so where this team looked sort of lost. And I understand that Ant and Cat and guys like that in the game last night played extremely well. But if we're talking about a glue factor here and the thing that brings this team together and like Phil says, the straw that stirs the drink, is this a D'Lo thing where if he's there, it's such a stabilizing influence that it actually empowers guys to be improved?
I think they would have won last night without D'Lo.
Uh-huh.
Like the rest of the guys were so darn good, including Patrick Beverley. I thought Bev was really, really good. Remind me, by the way, I have a little Beverley note I can get to at some point. But yeah, D'Lo has been their MVP.
Speculation.
His defense has been really, really good. His clutch shooting has been really, really good. Any way you want to slice and dice it, he has been their most valuable player. And the numbers are pretty evident. What are they? 3 games above 500 when he plays, and when he doesn't play, they are 0-5. So clearly, he is that much of a difference maker. But in terms of specifically last night, the rest of the group was so darn good that might have been one of those rare nights where they actually would have found a way to win without him.
We'll get to the Beverley Nugget in a second, but their starting lineup is among the best 5-man units in the NBA. That 5-man unit, and this is before last night, they were
they're a great
plus
first quarter
20.
team. Their first quarter numbers are through the roof.
Yeah, but even their first quarter numbers are amazing, and then it's sort of hang on for dear life sometimes. And they've been, I think fans still have that feeling of, oh my God, they've cut a 21-point lead to 14. It's like, oh, they'll still be fine. But I want to say that per 100 possessions, that 5-man starting unit is like a plus 25 or a plus 27 points net rating per 100 possessions. And I haven't compared that to all the other starting fives, but it is one of the best starting 5 units in the NBA. And then the question becomes, okay, how does Beasley fit in now that he's not really a featured player? The next 5 guys, and how do they fit? And Dukes, before we get to the Beverley Nugget, what do you think the appetite is for this team to make an in-season trade? I personally think, and I'm not reporting this, but I don't think there's any way you would entertain putting Ben Simmons into this mix, also considering what you may have to give up to get him. I've seen that those trade discussions have kicked back in according to some reports. I think that ship has sailed. I don't think you drop. If they were struggling and they were 8 games under 500, I would say maybe that's a possibility. But what do you think their appetite is to make a trade in season?
It's a healthy appetite. Now on Ben Simmons, Phil, I think he's always been a long shot, but I can tell you, Phil, within the last 10 days, the Wolves have engaged Philadelphia in discussions.
Wow.
So they are maintaining interest in Ben. But I've always thought that there was a better...
Oh, no. Oh, no. Warm up the bullpen.
No,
Warm up the bullpen.
We're losing him.
Oh,
We're
no.
losing him.
We got to go to Shooter. Bring Shooter in for the rest of the scoops.
Yeah, but I've always thought that he'll end up elsewhere, that it's when, not if he gets traded, that Daryl Morey comes to the realization he needs to move Ben. But I think Ben ends up elsewhere, not here. But I can tell you, the Wolves are maintaining interest in Ben Simmons. But it's not Ben Simmons or bust. That's why I tell you it's a pretty healthy appetite. Now, you're right about that starting 5. But imagine if you can find the right big man then shift Jared Vanderbilt. That energy, the way he plays, absolutely can translate to coming off the bench.
Yeah.
It's not like Jared Vanderbilt has to start. So you find the right big man, whether it's a 5-man or a 4-man, and you move Jared Vanderbilt to the bench. That, to me, is what they are focusing on, at least from what I can gather. You know, you've got the G League showcase in Las Vegas. In fact, there's some games in Vegas right now with the G League Ignite team, a bunch of 2022 draft prospects. So the Wolves have a presence out in Vegas right now, but that presence will increase in the coming days when all the G League teams will be in Vegas. That means a lot of executives will be in Vegas. It's a de facto, winter meetings. You think about baseball winter meetings, it's like the NBA has winter meetings in the next few days in Vegas. So expect trade talk to ramp up when Sachin Gupta and others are in Las Vegas in the coming days. But it's even ramping up right now because as of Wednesday, December 15th, you've got all the guys that signed over the summer, at least most of them are now trade eligible. So it's about this time when trade talk really starts to ramp up.
All right, Wolves notes, Pat Bev.
Well, Pat Bev, so the note's been out there that there's been discussions about a contract extension, that the Wolves can actually sign him. There's weird rules, but he's one of those guys where if the Wolves wanted to sign Beverley to a contract extension today, They could get it done. I'm told it's his camp driving the bus. That the Wolves are open to discussions, they're receptive, but it's not like the Wolves are driving this bus. It's a tough situation because I think you want Bev here next year. But there is an injury history there, a lengthy injury history. So how much money are you guaranteeing him? I had somebody really smart in the league tell me, here's what you do with Bev. You offer him 2 years, $16 million. You guarantee him the $8 million for 22-23. Then for the 23-24 season, you make it some sort of partial guarantee. $2 million, $3 million. So if he suffers another catastrophic type injury next year, you can cut the cord summer of 2023. Now, I don't know if Beverley and his agent are open to such an agreement, but he's in his mid-30s. Like, I don't know what he thinks he's getting on the open market. So if he can get $8 million next year, maybe a $10 million guarantee, I think that's where the two sides can come to a happy medium. Bottom line, I think the deal eventually gets done, but I'm just telling you right now, it's the Beverley camp driving that bus.
Don't you think it's worth the gamble? I mean, I just feel like he has brought such a great lair. Even when he's not playing, he makes an impact. It's hard to quantify, but just the way that he has emerged as a leadership voice, a guy who's calling out defenses wearing street clothes when he's injured, and I get that this is a poverty franchise that anyone that comes in and shows any semblance of leadership or culture change, it's like, yeah, they're going to stand out. I don't think if you're the Warriors, you would overpay for a Patrick Beverley because their culture is set, right? But the Timberwolves need culture setter guys. So I'm willing to take the gamble if it means keeping him around for another year or two.
And that's why I think it happens. He constantly reminds a lot of people there that he's never missed the playoffs, and he doesn't plan on missing the playoffs this year. Now, he did get a technical in street clothes. Like, that's one thing where I'm like, Pat, you need to tone it down a bit when you're not in uniform. Like, stop getting any sort of technical foul when you're on the bench in street clothes. But yeah, I mean, his presence, is undeniable. Just, the positive impact he's had, even in subtle ways on the court last night. Like, I can remember two instances where Denver was trying to make the pass into the post to Jokic, and Bev came over as a help side defender and put enough doubt into the passer's mind where the passer, then I don't remember who it was, but then swung it around the perimeter. Wasn't able to make that entry pass to Jokic because the fear was Bev might be in a position to steal the ball. Like, it's subtle stuff like that he does. Certainly, you can look at, the on-ball defense. You can look at times some of the shot making, some of the creativity in terms of, involving his teammates, his ability to set up teammates. But I'm telling you, it's the subtle ways he helps out on defense that have helped out as much as anything. So, yeah, you find a way to bring him back. That trade is one of the great ones. Like, you mean to tell me now, Tyus Jones has been playing really well, but Ja Morant breaks down again. You mean to tell me Memphis, and hey, Memphis is winning a lot of games, but you mean to tell me Pat Beverley couldn't be helping Memphis right now? But that was the plan all along. Like, once the Clippers shipped him to Memphis was always moving him. Like, those wheels were in motion when the Clippers initially made that trade. But yeah, I mean, think about giving up Hernan Gomez and Culver for Pat Beverley. One of the great trades. Heck, how about getting Jared Vanderbilt in the Beasley trade, right? I mean, I don't think that gets enough credit where, Gerson did do a few good things in terms of helping the on-the-court product.
Yeah. One more quick Wolves thing here on the lineup. So I found this on Basketball Reference. So this is per 100 possessions plus minus net. And the Timberwolves starting five is a plus 49 points per 100 possessions this year. The Golden State Warriors starting lineup is a plus 7, which is good. Now the Warriors have a lot more depth, and when they're bringing in other lineup combinations, those lineup combinations are also very good, and the Wolves have huge drop-offs once that starting five gets broken up. But just to put into context, the Golden State, I'm not saying the Wolves are better than the Warriors, but the Wolves' best five-man lineup has a much, 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 much better net rating than the Warriors' best five-man lineup, which is insane.
Well, it's why we continue to harp, Phil, that durability matters more to this team than many others. If you can have D'Lo, Bev, Edwards, Vanderbilt, Towns on the court for sustained periods, this team is going to make the playoffs. They need to stay healthy.
All right. Phil, fire the sounder.
You got it.
Because Darren,
Reckless speculation.
It's getting reckless and it's getting juicy in Egan. Let's talk about the Vikings. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, that when it came to the GM position and the coach, it was very clear that at the very top, the Wilfs were doing their due diligence on potential candidates. And
how would they not be, right, Judd?
Well, exactly, and they should be. And Charlie Walters in the Pioneer Press on Sunday floated the name, and he did it in the Charlie way of Pete Carroll, which was, don't be surprised. I have heard subsequently that Pete Carroll is very much a guy that if he's going to be gone from Seattle, which I think he probably will be, that the Vikings are going to have an interest in. This to me is fascinating, and it's not, and the look on Phil's face is correct, Dukes. Zimmer's 65, Carroll's 70. Carroll is a defensive first, run first guy. The only difference is that I think Carroll is seen as I'm a people person, damn it, and Zim is not. But
why can't you people see that?
But I gotta say as a starting point, I'm really surprised if atop their list is a guy who is just to start with, defensive first guy.
I agree. Now, Shooter has floated some other names, right? Like he's floated Doug Peterson. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's just been Pete Carroll, but
sure.
How do you go from a 65-year-old to a 70-year-old? Like, I don't necessarily see it, but do I think it was strategic in the way Shooter leaked that name? Like, he didn't pull that out of thin air, right? Like, we have an idea of at least one person who Shooter has been talking to, and there's great reason for him to write that name. So it certainly is intriguing. Now, I will tell you this much, Judd. I continue to hear that I don't think Rick Spielman is getting fired. Now, would they elevate Rick to some sort of senior consultant type position, bring in somebody else to oversee football operations? Maybe it's a situation like that. But what sort of fingerprints will Rick Spielman potentially have on the hiring of a new head coach if it continues to trend in this direction that Zim will get fired?
I can see. So I'm a big Pete Carroll guy, but he's 70 years old. Like, if you're telling me Pete Carroll from 5 years ago, okay, yes, where do I sign? Doug Peterson, Pete Carroll, I think that's the right track here. I would be pretty shocked, actually, if the Vikings just went with, like, young, unproven coordinator guy, now that we've seen some of these established names come out. I think they look at this as a Super Bowl window that Mike Zimmer is coming up short in, and Doug Peterson and Pete Carroll have won Super Bowls before. That's the only box for this franchise to check in 60-plus years. And I'm just trying to put myself in the minds and in the shoes of the Wilfs. They are so afraid of this thing becoming a train wreck at some point. They've mostly guarded for 15 years against train wreck. And now Doug Peterson train wrecked at the end, and you could argue that Pete Carroll's sort of train wrecking at the end here in Seattle. But those guys have done it at the top. The Kellen Moores have not. The Byron Leftwiches, while intriguing, have not. And so I do think, just my own educated guess, that's the path that they would like to go down, which is someone who has done it before, come here and do it again.
Well, let's play this thing out then. So then Kirk Cousins is back as quarterback next year. Mm-hmm. Maybe even with, well, if he's back.
Get Shooter.
Little birdie.
It's a reworked contract, right? That you need to rework that number he's at for 2022. So you've got Kirk Cousins back next year. You'd end up re-signing a lot of these guys. Like Patrick Peterson has interest in re-signing here. You probably bring him back for another year. Maybe not every free agent, but a lot of these guys. Maybe not Anthony Barr, some others, but you'd run back a lot of these guys. You'd find a way to have Danielle Hunter back next year. You've got Dalvin Tomlinson and Michael Pierce. And yeah, it would be the thought process that we have a roster that can win, especially if Aaron Rodgers, by the way, isn't in Green Bay next year. But that we have a roster that can win. We just don't have the right head coach to take us to that next level. That Mike's done a lot of good, but he can't quite get us over that hump. Let's bring in Pete Carroll, run it back with a lot of the same roster from this year, and figure, hey, we can make a run in 2022.
And what that fails to recognize, at least, is that this team, like the Wolves, need to hire a consultant like me, who tell them you need to hit the reset button, gents. Like you took your shot. Like
I don't think they will, though, Judd. I don't think the Wolves are capable of hitting the reset button.
Here's the problem: Pete Carroll loves to smash mouth, run, play defense, all the things that Mike likes to do. And the reality is, they have an offense right now that is begging for an innovative, smart offensive mind. I guarantee you, if Pete Carroll is the choice here, day one, he is going to say exactly what Mike has said, which is, well, we got Dalvin Cook. He's not going to say, we got Justin. So that's where I think the Wolves are missing the boat here. I think that there have been times where the window has been open and the Wolves have done the right thing. This is one where I don't think that you've got to get terrible, but I do think that you have to pivot to an offensive person, not a defensive guy. Not stick with it.
Well, I mean, who would Pete Carroll bring in as his offensive coordinator? Is there somebody we're not thinking of that might be that young, bright, innovative offensive mind? That might be a quarterback's coach right now, or maybe an unemployed offensive coordinator that's called plays before. Is there somebody that we're not making the connection to that could make sense in that regard? But I understand where you're coming from, Judd. Like, to me, Kellen Moore would make a ton of sense. That if Dallas continues to go with Mike McCarthy. Now, if I'm Jerry Jones, I might cut the cord on McCarthy, right, to keep Kellen Moore. Like, I wouldn't want to lose Kellen Moore, but he'd be a guy. Byron Leftwich, clearly Eric Bieniemy is ready to be some team's head coach. I don't know if it'll be the Vikings, but there are a number of good offensive minds out there. But I don't know if the Wolves would go that direction. Just the more I think about this, and them not being capable of hitting the reset button, that they really feel like we can make a run in 2022. I would not be shocked if it's something along these lines. Maybe it's not specifically Pete Carroll, but it's something of that ilk, that they don't hire a Kellen Moore type offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think I don't think the reset button is 100% a prerequisite. I think it all depends on what you do with Kirk Cousins' contract. We had this discussion on Purple After Dark on Tuesday, because we now know that the NFL salary cap is going to be $208 million. Everyone's going to have $26 million extra dollars to spend, but the Vikings, despite that, are sitting right now $10 million over that threshold. So if they want to make 2 or 3 key additions, a right guard, right? If there's little holes here and there or depth that they want to fix going into next year, they can't do it with Kirk on a $45 million cap hit. I don't think there's any way he winds up playing on that cap hit. They either restructure or they trade him.
Correct.
But
if he gets traded, by the way, that team then gives him some sort of contract extension.
And if you trade him now,
Kirk's going to play under that number next year wherever he is.
And if you trade him now, you're in a reset. It's like everything. If you restructure him and now he makes $20 million and you got 20 whatever million to go spend on an offensive lineman, et cetera. Now you can maybe push for contention next year. So literally everything hinges on his contract and then who the coach is that you bring in. I don't think there's any chance Mike Zimmer's still the coach unless they roll off four straight wins and a playoff win here or something, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would take that they would have to play, into that third or fourth weekend of January for Mike to survive at this point. Judd, what is a logical new contract for Kirk Cousins look like? Because we know, I don't think he's taking some sort of like hometown discount. Let me do this big favor for the Vikings.
Cool.
But that number, clearly, that number is not workable. So what does a logical new contract for Cousins look like?
3 more years, probably, to smooth things out again until the last couple years, or I should say the last year at which it becomes prohibitive. I would say, what's he at right now? What he did 3 years, 66, right? Because no, the extension was I thought the extension was 366. But anyway, I would say that he would push probably now that the cap has gone up to get more than that in the next contract. So I would say it would now be if the last one was 66, I would say this would be in the 70s. Because
I don't think he's taking some sort of discount. I don't think he would do that. And he's well within his right? I mean, it's a finite amount of time that these guys can maximize their earning potential. I wouldn't necessarily fault him, but I'm just telling you, don't expect him to take some sort of team-friendly contract to all of a sudden help out the Vikings cap situation big time.
Give us an update here quick before we say goodbye, Doogs. The Vikings are one of 7 or 8 teams in the enhanced COVID protocol bin. They've had all kinds of cases. So Alex Madison, what else? Adam Thielen's not in COVID protocol, but he's pushing to play. So who's going to play, who's not, I guess, against the Bears?
Well, yeah, I mean, Adam Thielen is pushing to play. We'll learn a little bit more later today, but I'm told the ankle is doing pretty well, that it's trending in the right direction. So that would be nice if Adam Thielen can play on Monday night. The other injury concern that fans have, and certainly us, in the media, those internally at TCO Performance Center, is Christian Darrisaw. His ankle. I am told right this second he has not been ruled out for Monday night. I'd love to tell you, yes, 100% he is playing on Monday night. It really comes down to how does the ankle respond the next 3 days. I do expect him at some point over the next 72 hours to get out there to test the ankle, even if it's just individual drills during practice, but to do something during practice. Then how does the ankle respond thereafter? But I can tell you right this second, as we sit here at 10:25 a.m. Central Time on Thursday morning, the 16th of December, that the Vikings have not ruled out Christian Darrisaw for Monday night in Chicago.
All right. That would be a boost. Darren Doogie Wolfson.
To me, you put him back in at left tackle, you keep Mason Cole at right guard, and Oli Udoh is then your swing offensive lineman. We saw the Vikings go with 6 offensive linemen against the Steelers. You can go with 6 offensive linemen at times against the Bears. Have Udoh then be that 6th offensive lineman.
Yeah. All right, inside information about your favorite Minnesota sports teams. You can find Doogie on 5 Eyewitness News and on the Scoop podcast. Keep grinding that seasonal cold there, Doogs.
Great comeback.
I'm working on it.
Great comeback, buddy.
Thanks, boys.
Great stuff. Yeah, the manager came out to pull him from the game, and he said, no, I'm staying in. I'm finishing this game. All right, Doogs, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, bye-bye.